Attorney General Pam Bondi come to Illinois and look at Illinois' gun rights or lack thereof. That's the message from the Illinois State Rifle Association to the U.S. Attorney General in efforts that they say are kind of following what the Attorney General's looking at in California. It is Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning as we break things down for you to start your day. And we'll talk with Ed Sullivan. Had a conversation with him yesterday. I'll share moments from that coming up here in a moment. He's with the Illinois State Rifle Association. But something else we're going to look at today as well is a couple of email updates from U.S. Senator Dick Durbin. He is going after the choice that Pam Bondi has to lead the ATF, and that is the FBI Director, Kash Patel. But you got Durbin also critical last week of some other actions that Bondi's taken as well. And in this segment, we've got $20 million from Illinois taxpayers going out to non-profit entities that may be threatened by violence or other acts of terrorism or things like that. So we're sending out tax dollars to not-for-profits to build stronger security perimeters. So we'll review some of that as well this segment. Again, it's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Wake up with us each and every weekday morning. Pretty vibrant chat room here on YouTube with the Center Square, so you can take part in that. But also get the podcast where you get podcasts and get the news headlines in your inbox by subscribing to the newsletter at thecentersquare.com. So let's get to this this press release that was put out by the Illinois State Rifle Association. And ultimately, it's about the DOJ urging them to come to Illinois. You've got a statement from the ISRA. The Illinois State Rifle Association is happy to assist the U.S. Department of Justice with their federal investigation into state and local municipalities for violating the Second Amendment rights of law-abiding citizens. In Los Angeles County, California, law-abiding citizens are facing 18-month delays for their concealed carry licenses. And as the DOJ is arguing, this is a violation of Second Amendment rights. The U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi issued a stern warning to any states that infringes on our 2A rights, writing, "This Department of Justice will not stand idly by while states and localities infringe on the Second Amendment rights of ordinary law-abiding Americans. The Second Amendment is not a second-class right, and under my watch," Bondi said, "the department will actively enforce the Second Amendment just like it actively enforces other fundamental constitutional rights." The ISRA says, "We welcome Attorney General Pam Bondi and her Justice Department here in Illinois, and as always, we're happy to help." And that was signed by Richard Pearson, the Executive Director of the Illinois State Rifle Association. So I talked with Ed Sullivan. He is a lobbyist for the Illinois State Rifle Association, and yesterday he shared with me that they have been in talks with the U.S. Attorney General on what exactly they can do for a state like Illinois, where we have the FOID card, the Firearm Owner Identification Card. You have to wait for state police to issue that, and then if you recall, 2019 going into COVID, we had people who were backlogged by a year or more to get their FOID card re-upped, to just reapply and get it reauthorized. But Illinois State Police said that they just had a backlog, and we reported on that extensively 5 years ago. And I imagine, just asking in the chat room, if some of the people there watching live, what kind of delays have you experienced in getting that permit from the state to exercise your fundamental Second Amendment civil rights of the right to keep and bear arms? So clearly there's something here, but Ed Sullivan said that they're in talks with Pam Bondi and the U.S. Department of Justice and the Attorney General's office to come to Illinois.
Yeah, we've had some direct talks with the Attorney General's office because of this. They really started looking at other states and the problems that were taking place, and because, kind of a direct contact into the Trump administration, we've asked them to come here. We've asked them to look at some of the onerous laws that we have. And I talked earlier about this, when you have some Chicago FOPs folks that are really struggling to get their FOID rights back, when the reality is they shouldn't have those problems. I think it's timely that Attorney General Bondi would want to come in and talk to us. Now, once again, she should tackle kind of the most onerous state in the nation when it comes to anti-gun laws. And so we certainly welcome anything that they want to do to kind of look at this process. If you look at the most recent bill that was passed, Katrina's Law, which, was a much better version that passed than what was initially put forth, but they completely disregarded the Rahimi case before the U.S. Supreme Court. And so one of the things that I brought up was, well, the bill says you can petition, let's say that the hearing says, yeah, you didn't do anything and your rights should be restored. You can petition within 2 weeks to have your firearms given back to you. But that only is if you have your FOID card restored. And we know you're not going to get your FOID card restored in 2 weeks. And I brought that up in the hearing. I said, hey, you're truly not giving people their rights back because you don't have a system in place to have your FOID card restored, thereby giving your firearm possession rights restored. And so we certainly welcome the AG's office, and we're going to work with her office should they want to come in and have a discussion.
So Ed Sullivan obviously sharing with us that that conversation has already been had, and we'll see what Attorney General Pam Bondi does with that request to come to a state like Illinois. Now, this all while Illinois has pending litigation that the state officials are defending against a bunch of different lawsuits, 4 combined cases in the Southern District, that Judge Stephen McGlynn said, hey, look, the Protect Illinois Communities Act, the law that prohibits the possession and sale of semi-automatic firearms like the very popular AR-15, that law is unconstitutional, but that measure is still waiting in the appeals court, while you've got the U.S. Supreme Court not yet saying whether they're going to take a case out of Maryland that bans semi-automatic firearms. All of this while Colorado recently passed theirs. I got Sullivan's take on yesterday. Still no update from the Supreme Court to take up that case, and what's happening with Illinois' case, and what does this look like moving forward?
Yeah, we would have thought that we would have heard something on scheduling. I know that the courts really don't like us talking about it too much, but I'm not really giving anything away that everyone doesn't already realize that, yeah, we would have hoped for a schedule for Seventh Circuit Court. So we'll wait on that. I think at this point, other court cases around the country will probably hit before ours, but it's just kind of an odd process that we've been watching. We would have hoped to have something moving along faster than we have, but we're at the whims of the courts, I guess, at this point, and that's fine. You know what? We knew this would be a process. We knew we were eventually going to end up at the U.S. Supreme Court. And that's the ultimate goal, is to have this overturned. And so we work within the process that we have.
So again, Ed Sullivan with the Illinois State Rifle Association reacting to no movement in the U.S. Supreme Court on the Maryland gun ban and what that portends for the challenges against Illinois' law stuck in the Seventh Circuit U.S. Court of Appeals. But as we talked about briefly yesterday, the state of Colorado has passed a bill to do something similar, ban certain semi-automatic firearms that take detachable magazines. Sullivan saying that it's important the Supreme Court do something on this as more and more states look to try to emulate what Maryland's done, what California's done, what Illinois has done. Yeah,
so you have other court cases going on, Maryland, obviously Illinois. Once again, you're going to see these other states that are doing something that we believe is illegal, that is unconstitutional, but the greatest document in the world hopefully is going to be on our side, and we will get reprieve from what we believe is an unconstitutional law. But we have to go through the process. We have to, go through the courts, let them do their whatever they think they need to do. And I know it's maddening for the typical gun owner that thinks it's unconstitutional, that believes it's unconstitutional. And the reality is, so they passed this so-called assault weapons ban. Did gun crimes decrease? Of course not. It's never been about a semi-automatic weapon. But if that's what makes all the anti-gun politicians feel good, I guess, that's what they got to do. But the reality is that's not going to stop crime. It's not going to stop one crime. And we'll just, once again, have to wait to see how the courts play this out.
Now, I talked with Sullivan for several minutes yesterday, so I'm going to have to share with you some of what we talked about with pending legislation at the Illinois State House, where the Illinois Senate is going to hold a committee hearing to tackle a couple of different bills, one about safe storage, another one about a diversionary program for first-time nonviolent felons so that they aren't prohibited from getting a FOID card. So we'll talk about that as well. A couple of bills coming up later on this week. So be sure to wake up with us each and every weekday morning here with Illinois in Focus Daily. We'll talk about that tomorrow as they prepare for that Thursday hearing. But let's get to, again, some of the other back and forth with the U.S. Attorney General and U.S. Senator Dick Durbin, who sent out this news release yesterday saying that Kash Patel is not the right person for the ATF. All right, the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms and Explosives. So U.S. Attorney General Pam Bondi looking into the policies and procedures about the ATF. And in February, the president announced FBI Director Kash Patel would serve as acting director of the ATF. So is the ATF going to be folded in? You got Durbin saying that joining a bunch of others in a letter to Pam Bondi that Kash Patel is not qualified for this. They're writing to inquire into what policies and procedures would be implemented to ensure the ATF continues meaningful function in its intended capacity. Goes on to say, while the decrease in violent crime and gun-related deaths is encouraging, 2023 still had the third highest number of gun-related deaths. Goes on to say that the DOJ must do everything within its power to sustain the downward trend. But it also goes on to talk about Patel not been subject to Senate confirmation to lead the ATF. And Patel, the senators say, would not affirm that firearm background checks, well-established procedure, they say, for keeping guns out of the hands of dangerous individuals, are constitutional during his confirmation hearing as FBI director. And they further say that Patel's appointment threatens to undo the life-saving progress the ATF has made to reduce gun violence in America. So again, that's a letter, just clips of a letter that U.S. Senator Dick Durbin signed on to Attorney General Pam Bondi concerning Kash Patel, the FBI director, possibly becoming the ATF director as well. But last week, you had Senator Durbin also send out this letter with others to Pam Bondi, essentially laying out that they don't like the actions of the Trump administration. And in particular, the Trump administration terminating a pardon attorney, and they also go further to talk about the efforts of Trump to try to get Mel Gibson's gun rights back. Mel Gibson, the actor, Lethal Weapon, Mad Max, you go down the line, he's a pretty accomplished actor, but yeah, he's had some domestic issues, pleading no contest to one issue. The senators don't like the idea of Mel Gibson possibly having his personal relationship with President Trump interfere with him not being able to get a firearm. So kind of fascinating to see some of the political back and forth here. But back to Illinois. We're talking about the Second Amendment. Of course, this is a jam-packed segment here. I'm going on 13 minutes now. All of the different things about the Second Amendment, really, it's about public safety and how we keep the public safe. This is an interesting note that came out yesterday, and really, it's kind of all about your tax dollars. The Illinois Emergency Management Agency announced the second round of funding for not-for-profit security grants, $20 million available in grant funding. It's the second round of such funding. And they say that it's going to help nonprofits who are deemed at high risk of a threat, attack, or acts of terrorism, implementing different types of security measures like physical security. And the amount of money they can get, up to $150,000 for the site. They may apply for up to $150,000 up to 3 sites for a maximum of $450,000, and security enhancements must be for locations of not-for-profits. So that's your tax dollars going out to not-for-profits. We'll see where that money goes and what kind of not-for-profits ultimately get that. Is it going to go to, like, for instance, Planned Parenthood, or is it going to go to, for instance, Catholic Charities, or is it going to go to, for instance, some kind of environmentalist group, or other types of very, very political yet not-for-profit groups? It's a lot of money, $20 million. So there you go. In the space of public safety, all kinds of different stories for you, from where we're at with Illinois' Second Amendment rights, and is the DOJ going to come investigate, to where we're at with litigation against the state's gun ban, and how Illinois U.S. Senator Dick Durbin's getting involved in all of this on the national level with the DOJ, and so on. It's Illinois in Focus Daily. I'm Greg Bishop. It's what you get each and every weekday morning. Like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and wake up with us for Illinois in Focus Daily with the Center Square.